So, in your opinion, what have you found the word control or the idea of control to mean?
There should be two words that should be used with control. There's bad control and there's good control. So control gets a bad name because people use bad control. Good control really results in people becoming more self-determined, more independent, more capable of really achieving the goals they want with good control. Bad control, it's enforced and there's a negativity and it's like, you'll do what I want you to do. And so as a parent and as a teacher, one of the biggest issues, how can I get the true cooperation and agreement from my children and my students? Well, how do you do that? With good control. And I'm going to give you a real example. Okay?
Good.
Are you ready for this example?
I'm ready.
So when I left New York City, after 12 years of public school teaching in New York, I moved to LA and I became a substitute teacher. So I knew the game by then, right? And they would call me up at 6:30 in the morning. We have a class at the such and such school. We'd like you to take it. And I worked basically in the poor sections of LA, in the area which has the most difficult students in schools, because that's where you're going to get the most work. But I could handle it. It wasn't a problem, right? So I come to the school, the Ball Street School. It was like a prison. It's a public school. They went up to sixth grade. And when I went there, the whole atmosphere was so negative. It was like destructive, almost just to walk in there. So I walk into the schoolyard. And these schoolyards are big in LA, right? And the class sees me that I'm their substitute. So two things happen. Half the class goes, we have a substitute, we're going to get him. And the other half goes, oh no, we're in for a terrible day. And they gave me the oldest class in the school, I think with probably the most behavior problems, right? And so I'm in the schoolyard and it's time to go up. Okay, and I know I have to establish good control, that I'm in charge. Because in order to achieve the results I want, I have to be able to put in good control, which I'll explain what that is in a moment. And so I knew I had to do that. But the schoolyard wasn't the place to do it because it's too big a space. You know, the atmosphere is not right. So we go into the building, and the kids are walking up the staircase, making a lot of noise. At the second floor, it's a 3-story building.
I can imagine the echoing because you described the way the building was.
The student comes up to me, boy comes up to me, says, "We're going to have you pulling your hair out of your head by 11 o'clock. That's what he says to me, right?
This is a 6th grader. Oh my gosh.
He's probably 12, 13, I don't know. And I just looked at him. Now we're going up one more flight. Now they're even louder and more boisterous. He says, make that 10 o'clock, okay? I just looked at him and said, in my best Brooklyn accent, you want to bet $1? I said, you want to bet $1? And he looks at me, right? And that was he was expecting. So now we're in the hall getting ready to go in the classroom. Here's where I went to work. And I did this with every class I worked with. And I became known as super sub. People would come in and really kind of observe, what are you doing? How do you handle these kids, right? So I knew I had to get good control. There's a definition of control that I really love. It's a willingness or ability to start, change, and stop. You know, when you can start something, you want to start it, or change it, or stop it, now you have control. I wanted that class to know I'm in control. So what I did is I asked the class, how do you usually go in the room? Girls first, boys first, together first? You know, the girls go first. Whatever they tell me, I'm changing. The girls first and the boys. I go, oh, really? Good. Boys in. What's that how we do it? The girls go first. I'm your teacher today. That's it. Boys, I want the boys in now. And the boys start walking in, straining in. 3 boys go in. I stop the boys' line. Girls in. 3 girls. I stop the girls' line. Starting, changing, stopping. Only 6 kids in the classroom. I look at the classroom. Get in your right seat with my deep Brooklyn tone. I'll know where you're seated, which is a lie. I have no idea where you're supposed to sit. And I won't like it if you're not in your right seat. Now sit down in your right seat. But 3 boys, 3 girls. Start, change, stop. Right there, I established the pattern of control. Okay, because I wanted to have a great day in school. And I know if I'm fighting for good control and things, I won't have a great day.
Yeah.
And so that concept, how do you get the cooperation and agreement you want? Okay, and I can go into more detail what happened real quickly on those classes. I have to tell this story. So I found the successful action. Okay, I established that I'm in control, but, you know, I don't want to have to fight all day with putting good control, you know?
Yeah.
I want to get the agreement that I should be their teacher.
Okay.
Okay. And I did every class I did this with. There's one boy I would pick out at the beginning. I'm calling the roll. And you look at the roll and you see the names. But I identified a kid I want to do something with. And when he raises his hand, I'm here. I put the roll book down. And this is a kid who's a nice kid. You could tell good kids would never get in trouble. This is a kid who never gets in trouble. He raises his hand, and I put down the roll book, and I look at him, and I feel really terrible for this kid. For 20 seconds, he's going to go through hell. And I put it down and said, get up to me and get up to me right now. And the class is looking. John,
Johnny's a good boy.
He never gets in trouble. Get up to me now. And my mean and Brooklyn accent told me right. And I said, when I was teaching in New York City, if any of my students did what you did, I'd never let them in class. Now get up to here now. But he's kind of shaky. I'm feeling terrible for the kid, right?
Poor kid.
But I knew in 5 seconds it's going to be great. And so I look at him. I had a full beard at the time, right? And I looked at him and I said, you didn't take a shave today, did you? And then I listened. I want to hear the kids who get the humor and laugh right away. They're the more, these are the kids I want to work with. They get the humor. Now, poor John doesn't know whether to smile or what because I'm so
He doesn't know what's going on.
And then I finally go, that's okay. I haven't shaved either, and I have a big beard. Thank you very much, So the class laughs, they're relieved. And then they start telling me the things we can do during the day. And many times the kids didn't even want to leave school at 3 o'clock. Okay, and for a number of reasons, right? So how do you establish good control? You have that concept to start, change, and stop. But when I was a teacher in New York City, there was a mandate. You must put the purpose of the lesson on the board. Okay? Big deal.
Yeah.
They forgot the second and most important part. And get the agreement of the students to go along with that purpose.
That's their purpose as well.
Otherwise, you're fighting through.
Yeah.
So I became very good at helping kids understand the purpose and the value and benefit to them. So one of the principles of good control, you want to have knowledge and agreement that the goals to be attained by the person you want to control. Knowledge and true agreement. Yeah, Ma, I'll do it.
Yeah.
No. True agreement that this is what I really want to do. I'm going to really want to do that. You got me. Okay. So that's one principle. Knowledge and agreement. Okay, I want you in bed by 9 o'clock. They have knowledge. Do you have their agreement? Okay. Now, if you don't, then you're going to fight getting to bed. They're going to do other things, right? Do they have true agreement when they're going to go to bed? Okay. Now, very often the kids will agree, but you make sure they really agree and they know you expect them to do that.
Right.
Now, what do you do if you don't get agreement? How do you get the real agreement? This is such a powerful thing. Are you ready?
I'm waiting. I am ready.
The power of choice, when they make that choice, that's what they want to do. Okay. And so what I would do with my daughters, and some things there's no choice. Like you don't run across the street when you're 2 years old and cars are coming. No. Use
The
your
hand,
judgment.
you hold my hand, and that's how we get across the street.
And then you start changing and stopping them.
That's right.
But you have to look at where can I honestly give my child a decision or a power of choice? Because that's really something that will be of value to them. And that becomes their decision. Okay? And that's what you want to get as much as you can. And that's what I was always aiming for with my own children.
But at least if you know that, then you can get clever with it. If you don't think with that, if you don't know that that's what you should be putting in, then it's willy-nilly. You may get a little control here and there, but you may not. And so at least that gives you a formula, if you will, to implement.
Right, and you don't get into these arguments. And so my daughters, for example, when they were 2 years old, my wife, she would work at night, and she wanted me to put the kids to bed like 8 o'clock or 8:30. Impossible for me, because the girls would go like this. Daddy, could we just stay up a little more and talk and play with you? All right. So I was never going to be able to get them to bed on time. So I wanted them to take responsibility for themselves.
He did have 3 girls, people. It's different. It's a different dynamic for Daddy.
And so I said to my girls, I wanted them to have a power choice at 2 years old. I said, Mari, take my youngest daughter. Mari, tell you what, you can decide when you want to go to bed, but I'll give you 2 choices. You tell me which choice is right for you. You can go to bed in 2 minutes or 120 seconds. 120 seconds, Daddy. Oh, we agree now, 120 seconds? Good.
That's adorable.
So 120 seconds go by and say, time for bed. And they go to bed, right? Of course, 2 days later, Mari's very, 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 very smart. Says,
smart as a whip.
Daddy, that's the same time, right? So, but the power of choice. But you're going to go, I know, but what if they don't do it? And they agreed. Well, then people get into elevated control. Okay? Let's say for 9 o'clock, they agree to go to bed, right? But they're not going to bed. So here's elevated control. First floor. Okay, 9 o'clock, time for bed. And the kid goes, no, I'm going to finish this project, what I'm doing. No. And they're not doing it. Then you go to the second floor. No, you agreed. It's time for bed. Now get to bed now. No, but Mom, I really want to do this. I want that. Now you get to the third floor. I'm warning you. If you don't get to bed now, I'll tell your father there's going to be all kinds of trouble. I get to bed.
I know.
Doesn't do it. Finally, they wait for the fourth floor. They know that's when you're serious. If you don't get to bed, I'll put you back where you came from or whatever, right? So they wait for the fourth floor. What a drag for them and what a drag for you.
Yeah.
So here's the principle.
Okay.
When you have their agreement, knowledge and agreement to the goal, very important. You got to have both.
Okay.
Now, then you hold them and they have a power choice. If they can't come up, if they don't just agree quickly, give them a power choice. But then once they make that agreement, you don't keep repeating the command over and over to tell them what to do. You just say it one time and one time. Because if you're going to say it 12 times, they'll wait for the 12th or 13th time.
That's right. They learn that.
And you do learn that too.
Yeah,
Come on, you don't know that. But if they know that when they agree and they are supposed to do something, you're going to hold them to that responsibility. You may get a little bit of upset at first, I'm not used to it and I can do it. But eventually, no, you agreed, it's time, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Mm-hmm. And so it makes such a difference when you do that. Okay? So you just tell, a lot of people think, well, just tell them the command a different way and louder and louder. No. Mm-mm. You got their agreement.
That's right.
And the true agreement.
So you get them to hold to it.
Yes. You don't do it angrily. You don't do it an upset way, but with firmness. Mm-hmm. You decided that you're going to go to bed at 9 o'clock, whatever, time for bed, and you take them to bed.
That's right.
Okay. You do it with firmness, but you don't scream, you don't yell, you don't go into a right-wrong thing. I was working with this mother in Washington, D.C. I'd never met her before. She had a teenage daughter, and they were like this. To a point where the mother would try to control her, the daughter would threaten to commit suicide or take a knife and cut her arm. You can't tell me, look, I'll cut my arm and having.
Wow.
It was really serious, right?
Yeah, so where do you go from there? I mean, that you've already taken it to the top floor, I tell you on that.
I mean, it's just, she was desperate, right? So they came to see me, and the daughter was like 15. So here's the mother, here mine, here's the daughter, right? And so I talk about good control, what we talk about. I talked about good communication, which is another topic I'd love to talk about. And then they said the magic. And then while we're talking, the daughter's going like this. She's turning away, going. You can see a mother very unhappy. And then finally I said the magic words. I said to the mother, now what I'd like you to do is I want you to let your daughter be in control of you. You pick out a time, well, if it's an hour, 3 hours, 4 hours, where your daughter controls you, and the daughter goes from this to like,
this is interesting. I might want to sign up for this.
I said, now, you don't do something that opposes your moral values, is unethical, no. But within the framework of where she can control you, she controls you. She'll start you, change you, stop you. And the daughter was like, yes, I want to have some control here, because she wasn't getting any. And so the mother goes out that night, does where she lets her daughter control her for 3 or 4 hours. The next morning at the seminar, the mother gets up before I talk. I have to say something. I followed your advice, and I let my daughter be in control of me. I gave her the limits, I won't do, right? But anything that's not part of that limit, I will do. So when we came home that night, after she had control of me, for the first time in over almost a year, half a year to a year, she said, Mom, come here, I want to give you a hug.
Aww.
I mean, it's like, she just wanted to have some control.
Sure.
But it's so powerful, you see?
Yeah.
And we all want to have good control.
And also, we're individuals, and I can't look and see what's behind your forehead, and as much as I love my kids, I can't say that I know everything they're thinking or feeling. I mean, that would just be crazy, right? And so, here was this kid who just needed to be in control, and she couldn't even articulate that was what was wrong.
You got it. Absolutely. And boy, I still remember that moment when she went from this to like, yeah. It was such a right indication.
It was the right indication of what was going on.
And what happens when you do that drill, now they're more willing to be controlled. Because they also can be in control as appropriate. And then there's
trust. And then there's trust, because now you go, that wasn't so bad, even on the mom's end. And the mom is learning, I don't have to nitpick or be in control of every little thing.
You got it.
It's not going to work.
There's always judgment, okay? And there really is. But when you really have good control, again, you have the knowledge and agreement of the goal to be attained. I mean, that's what you really want. Agreement. People forget about the agreement. They give kid the knowledge in bed by 9, but do you get their agreement?
Yeah.
Well, I'm the parent. I can tell you what to do.
Well, that's
maybe.
the missing gem. I think that this is probably one of the most important parenting tips there can be. And he's got a lot of them. He's got a lot of them. We're going to have a couple of shows. So you definitely want to keep staying tuned. And thank you for coming today.
My pleasure.
My pleasure.
Our pleasure.
No, my pleasure. No, my pleasure.